Hey, Fran fam, welcome to another edition of the Francyne Walker Show. I am the host, Francyne Walker, in case you were wondering. So, thank you for tuning in to another edition of the show. Joining me today is an amazing woman, no pun intended. Her name is Gunn, and she is the founder of the Amazing Woman Network. And we're here to talk about women, money, elevating women and men, Black men, and just a whole slew of things. I'm going to pick. Well, maybe not pick, because she's going to send me, if I pick her brain, she's going to send me an invoice, because that's what we do. we get the money and we secure the bag. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Christo Gunn to the show. Hi, Christo.
Hello, Francyne. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I know we have been Facebook friends and, we've been interacting via Facebook. You kind of, that's how you build a relationship these days as it relates to social media. It's like, I like this. I think I know I'm a part of the, your Facebook page, 50/50, where you, and I'm gonna tell you why, because I pay attention, where you highlight a lot of Black businesses and, topics or articles and things that relate to Black businesses. See, I pay attention. I do.
You do.
So you do give homage to those topics relating to Black businesses.
Yes.
But your baby,
my baby,
reading your bio, just tell us a little bit about who you are so that the audience has an idea of the powerhouse that you are.
Okay, so I am founder of the Amazing Woman Network, and I always say that it was my assignment. It was given to me by the Creator. It is clearly not something that I chose, right?
Sure.
And it was given to me, probably about 10 years ago at this point, right? And as I was going through in my opinion, my worst times, right? There had been, divorce. I was a business owner. The mortgage industry crashed, and so did my business, right? And I was not accustomed to failure. I was not accustomed to losing. And so now there's this downward spiral of finding myself in depression. So financial trouble, finding myself in depression, and thinking that I was alone when I really didn't have to be, but thinking that I was alone because, we go through these things and we don't want to tell everybody else what's happening in our lives.
Sure.
And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and pity party on full blast, right? And he said, listen to my story contently. And at the end of it, he said, Crystal, your story is not special. I said, what? And he said, listen, everybody's either going through something, been through something, or about to go through something. He said, you've been knocked on your tail. He said, that's not what defines you. What defines you is what you do now. And I said, therein lies the problem. I have no idea what to do. And he said, I'll tell you. He said, you go home. He said, you cry again tonight if you want to. I get it. You've been through a lot. He says, never, ever again cry over money. He said, but you cry tonight. He said, but in the morning, he said, I want you to have a praise fest. And he said, I want you to thank God for everything he's done for you, everything he's about to do for you, and ask him.
Wow.
Ask him what you're supposed to do. And out of that, I went home and I was all cried out. And so I went through this praise fest and was like, okay, God, this is not what my life is supposed to be like, right? I had this 5-year-old at the time, right? I'm like, is this who she's supposed to emulate? And God, use me as you see fit. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. Well, don't ask if you don't mean that. And from it, one of the first things he gave me was, downloaded this, do this journal that had 365 days of inspirational quotes, scripture, and song lyrics. And I know putting that together was the thing that got me out of depression. But then after that, it was Now you're supposed to empower and unite Black women globally. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, my life is a wreck. How am I supposed to do that? And that same friend who told me to ask in the first place, I was like, you told me to ask, and this is what I'm getting. And he said, walk your journey and you'll be surprised at who you inspire. And I still had my journey to walk through, right? Mm-hmm. But, you know, I created this Facebook page, and women from all over the globe started messaging me saying, because of what you say and what you post, I now think that I can do ... And so I just try to make sure that women have a safe place, right? That, and it doesn't matter the station in life, because we're all here to elevate to another level, right? And so we need that collective that sisterhood that you can come to, even if you don't want to talk about whatever it is, they're still there to uplift, motivate, encourage you with a judge-free zone. And so that really is who we are and what we do.
You know, as we're talking, or as I'm listening, I'm thinking about the fact that we're still in a panini, because I refuse to call it what it has been for the last 18 months.
Refuse to call it that.
I refuse. Right. Because it has taken its toll on me personally.
Yes.
As well as everyone else that is walking, living, and breathing right now.
Yes.
It has taken its toll one way or another.
Yes.
From varying levels. Mm-hmm. So some to the level of ground where you were.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
15 years ago. So, because I was thinking, okay, that means you have a teenager. So 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and it all depends on different factors. You know, first of all, Black women, you know, as a Black woman in America, and we know all the implications of that, and we're talking about that. Implications of being Black and a woman, you know, not disregarding Black men, but I'm speaking specifically as it relates to the Amazing Woman Network.
Right.
So we've got that challenge. We've got maybe the challenge of age.
Oh, yes.
The challenge of shame because of our situation. And the hesitancy to share that issue, you know. And it just feels like sometimes I can be venting about something, just, you know, as I was talking about my car, and it's like, girl, it is not the end of the world, but you sound like a spoiled brat. But I give myself that moment to, you know what I mean, personally. But what if I had to share that issue? It might have a little bit of shame, like, oh, wait, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So there's that, you know, there's that reluctance, and a lot of times for us to share because we lack the safe space.
We lack the safe space. And that's what we try to provide, that safe space. And you also have to add to that list the strong Black woman.
Baby, listen, I need somebody to bring me a trash can so that we can throw that trope away.
Please, because it's killing us. It's absolutely killing us, because we're running from sun up to past sundown because we have to fit this thing and we have to do all of these things, and it literally is killing us. So I'm with you. Can we throw it away and just stop it?
And I like that you named the network The Amazing Woman. And it reminds me of, when I hear that, I hear the key of Jill Scott. Amazing. You know, like, you are amazing right now, just as you are, whatever issue or station you are, in your life. People need to hear, I feel at my lowest. Now, it might not be the lowest compared to someone else and what they're going through.
Correct.
But for me, this is my lowest,
Right.
comparatively speaking, over, with as far as my life is concerned.
Right.
For you were a high achiever. You were used to doing things and having those things prosper.
Right.
And then
Gone.
Life happens.
Life happens. You don't go into marriage thinking you're going to get divorced, right? And let me say, I have the best ex-husband in the whole wide world. Like, I am blessed beyond to have him as an ex-husband. Because we had a really, really good relationship, because we decided we wanted to raise this really good daughter, and we had to have this good relationship.
Yes.
But so you don't go into marriage thinking that you're going to be divorced. You don't start a business thinking that the business is going to fail. You don't go through any of that, but life happens. And what do? Right? But one thing that you have to do, which is what I learned, is you have to remember that your amazing was established at birth. Right? You just didn't wake up today and become amazing. It was established at birth. That's how you were created, right? So part of my whole mission and desire with the Amazing Woman Network is to help women own, honor, and execute their amazing every single time. So they have to remember who they are. Going through it all. So it's that constant reminder. No, you are amazing. Yeah, you had this hiccup, and it's okay. Yeah, you had this breakdown. It's okay. You're still amazing. Now let's recover and go forward.
Yeah, because divorce is like death. And I've always heard that. I've never been married, but I've always heard that that's what it feels like. Because again, you have your expectations, your goals, your dreams, things that are tied to building a life.
Right.
A life with someone, life that could be an age, the span of 80 years, give or take a few, outside of the time you got married. So 50, 60 people are married, 50, 60, depending on when they got married. So there is that grief that comes with that. A lot of us right now are walking around, Crystal, in under a collective grief cloud.
We're experiencing trauma. It's
trauma. I just told you.
Top of trauma.
And for anybody, it's like, because I typically am home. I'm working from home, building a business, building a platform, and someone was saying, well, can't you just, it's like everything that I do is tied to me and my personality. So I'm building, so I am married to it from a different place. When I changed the name of the show, I cried. It's like, God, what? I cried because it was like Life and Style with Francyne was such a part of, I was from 2018 to 2021. But on top of that, it's like, well, could it be hormonal too? Yeah, it might be. Because I'm not young. I'm, you know what I mean?
But it also can be that every day we turn on the TV or social media and someone else that looks like us is getting gunned down by police. So it's that too. And then it's that,
Let's talk about the grief of almost 600,000 lives lost, right? And at some point, somebody is related to us by way of another person.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's all of that. And it's like, when is enough, right?
Yeah.
And I still have to be what society says I'm supposed to be. And I still try to wear all of these different hats or shoes, since it's women, I like to say, that society throws at us. And so we forget who we are, and you're going about your thing. And then you look up and you have a meltdown just because it's too much.
Yeah. How does one become a part of the network? What are some of the things that a woman can expect when they join, when they become a part of your global network?
Yes. So they can go to the website, amazingwomannetwork.com.
Wait a minute, producer. Oh, that's me.
They can go to the website. They can find out some information. You can't join on the website. We like to, if they put in their information, what they'll get once a month, we do something called the AWN experience, right?
Okay.
And it's where they're invited. It's some members from AWN. Obviously, now we're doing it all remotely, but they get to hear this story and they get to hear about the Amazing Woman Network and what we do, and they get to meet some members. And then we also say, hey, now you can also come to a monthly membership meeting so you can really see what we do, right? And then and then the membership, and then they can join. And some of the things, so our pillars are reclaiming our personal power, mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
Reclaiming our financial power, because that's huge for me. And increasing our social involvement, because I believe Black women birthed the world and will continue to change the world, right? And then again, assisting in walking.
A powerful thing when you think about it. It's like, you better put some respect on my name,
please.
I birthed this place.
When
you think about the magnitude of what you just said, Crystal, and I want to touch back upon the financial piece, because that is so important. But that we have that auspicious task of birthing the world and elevating the world, and ultimately creating what was envisioned before we were even born. I mean, I know that's a little deep for some to embrace, but isn't that the truth? So you have this. So is everything now virtual, or are we moving back into where we can say, hey girl, but with a mask? You know what I mean?
So that is the goal for the rest of the year, engaging people. Look, this whole doing it virtually, I was kicking and screaming last year about right. I literally went into the hospital May 2nd of last year because I had this crazy pain. And May 3rd, I had surgery for a ruptured appendix. Okay.
Wow.
And 7 weeks for recovery. And it took every bit of those 7 weeks and more. So that entire time we didn't meet. Right? We didn't meet at all. And it was literally the women in the organization pushed and pulled and said, hey, not only do we need this, you need this as well. So we did not have a monthly membership meeting or any other kind of meeting from May, June, July. I think our first one was August. And it felt just so good to get back to that collective we, right?
Yeah.
Because we need it. But 2020 was hard for everybody, right? On some form of fashion. So we haven't totally gotten back to coming together, because I'm one of those that I love for everything to be an experience. So when you used to come to our monthly membership meeting, there was the white tablecloths, the set, and everything was just, and the energy was always off the chart, right? Yeah. But now it's like, okay, the meeting is over on Zoom and no one wants to hang up. No one wants to get off, because again, they've come together. So it's the goal to try to maybe implement in person and then back, and for those who still aren't comfortable coming in person, to come back, that they can watch it on Zoom or whatever. Yeah. But it's interesting how things happen and you find the good in things, because at the end of 2019, me having a conversation with God again, I said, okay, you told me to unite and empower Black women globally, right? I was like, I see what's happening with the women that have been in the room. How do I impact the women not in the room, right? And so, of course, the downloads start to come. But as I look back at the things that happened, it wasn't in my mind to go virtual, right? Which makes it easy to expand globally, right? Yeah. But we were forced to do it anyway. And so that was just one of those answers that came out of the darkness of 2020. Like, okay, well, now this is another way that you get to grow and impact more women that aren't in the room.
I want to be cognizant of your time.
Yes,
I want to touch, because I'm so appreciative that you are here and you have taken the time. You know, thankfully one day very soon I will have an assistant that will, you know, be able to reach out to people. It's like, oh God, I got to talk to Crystal.
Right.
You know, your reputation is stellar. You know, Sonia Weaver, who is, yeah, you know, she mentioned your book, your workbook. So I want to make sure I give you your flowers while you're on my show.
Thank you.
But two important things I want to talk about is the financial empowerment piece, because I'm sure you probably found yourself in a place 10 years ago where it's like never ever again.
Never ever. Yeah.
It's a great place to finally come to. And it's like, I feel like we need to talk about that financial empowerment piece, specifically as it relates to Black women, where we are paid less,
Yeah.
You know, on two different fronts. You know, we're paid less because we're Black. We're paid less because we're a woman.
Yep.
So the dollar gets cut into like maybe a third. I mean, you know,
it's ridiculous.
You know, half on that, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, you're Black, I'm gonna take 2 more cents. You know,
right.
You see a lot of women going into business for themselves because corporate doesn't like to. They think they do, you know, and a lot of that is sometimes very performative for a season, but they don't necessarily recognize the value and the brilliance we bring to the table. So what tends to happen is, and this ties into 50-50 board. You have more women going into business for themselves because life is really very precious, and we've seen that. So we're looking at the financial empowerment piece. Whether you're in corporate or whether you're running your own business, you still need to secure the bag. You
do. You absolutely right.
And so talk a little bit more about, you said it's huge. You said that it's huge. Why is financial empowerment huge, Crystal?
Because if we don't own anything, we don't get to make any decisions, right? So I read an article a few years ago that said in 40 years, despite the fact that people of color will be the majority population, if the current trend continues, Blacks will have zero wealth.
I saw that.
Did you see, right?
Yeah, I remember that article.
This is ridiculous, right? When we have a $1.3 trillion spending power, right? How is that possible? And then at that time, my daughter was probably 16. And I said, so in 40 years, she'll be 56. She'll have no wealth. It cannot happen on my watch. It just can't. But prior to that, and again, going through that journey that I went through, I created this workbook and this course, and it's flawless. It's flawless. So financially literate, amazing women learning economic success strategies. And so it's a 40-day workbook that takes women through how to get their financial life back, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I learned in doing financial workshops. There's going to be somebody in the room that makes over 6 figures. There's going to be somebody in the room that makes under $1,000 a month, right? Social Security, disability, or something like that. There's going to be people that own their homes, and there are going to be people that are homeless in the same workshop, in the same room, right? And when I say homeless, I don't necessarily mean they're living in their car or in a shelter, but they're staying with somebody and they don't have their name on a mortgage or a lease, right? And let's face it, women, right, wrong, or indifferent, we are the head of more households now than ever before, right? And we're the first teachers of our children, right? So we have to do, and as in a lot of cases, even if there is a man in the house, a lot of times women are handling the financial situations, right? They're paying the bills and they're doing, even if it's not their money, they're handling all of that, right?
Right.
So, and we don't own anything. We don't own enough. We can't make financial decisions as a community because we don't own enough of the things in the community. So I had already been doing the financial empowerment for women, right? And I do it specifically for women because women and men hear things differently. A man is not going to come to a workshop and talk about his feelings and how that relates to how much money he spends. It's just not happening, right?
Yeah.
And so that's very different. But an interesting thing happened in one of those workshops. I had a young lady come to a workshop, and one of the assignments is just to write your financial masterpiece. What do you want your financial life to look like? Don't worry about how you're going to get there, but what do you want it to look like? And so she was in the workshop. She was excited. She came to my house, I don't know, a few months afterwards to pick something up. And we got to talking. I said, did you ever write your financial masterpiece? And she said, no. And I said, why not? And she said, I was so excited when I went home. I opened the workbook to that page and I got scared to write it. I said, you got scared to write it? And she said, and I couldn't. I was frozen, right? And she had been through a divorce. She had moved back in with her parents, with her mother and her two sons, right? And I said, if she won't even take the time to dream, she's not going to encourage those young boys to dream. And if we're not dreaming, we're not growing and we're not moving, right? So you have to stay plugged in. So last year, right after the George Floyd piece and right after I was coming out of the hospital, it was like, God said, you got to do something for the community, right? You got to do something as it relates to finances for the community. This thing that you have, you need to push it out. And I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. Right? And so,
how dare you, girl, tell God what you don't want to do. I mean, we do it all the time, but but yes,
wouldn't let up. I was like, I wasn't ready. I didn't want to do it. And it just wouldn't let it go. And that became the 50-50 accord. And so phase one is flipping our house, which is ensuring that at least 50% of what we spend with Black businesses, habitually, intentionally, and generationally, right? We have to do it. And the more money that we spend with Black businesses in the Black community, you'll start to see things changing, but we have to do it. And the second piece of that is get your own house in order. So credit, finance, real estate, investing, estate planning, so we don't have to pass the pot when you die, right? So, and we have to do it if we want to survive. There is no, oh yeah, we should. We have to do it, or we're going to wind up in 36 more years with no wealth, right? And we built this country. So how does that work? Right. And again, we got a $1.3 trillion buying power. And you mean to tell me that we have no wealth? It just can't happen on my watch. It just, something has to be different.
So what does Crystal need at this point? What's your wish list? What is that? Now we're taking you back to that workbook page. Mm-hmm. What's your wish list to forward your I wanted to say empire. Empire is a good word, but to forward the network, to forward the 50-50 accord, what are some of the things we can do collectively to ensure this happens and it's not performative. We're not just, we got this great workbook. And is that workbook available now? Is it self-directed?
It's self-directed. It is not available today. I needed to do some edits. It will be available within the next 60 days.
Okay.
And definitely it'll be all over social media again. Trust me.
Okay. So we'll look for that. But what are some other things? Because this is, we need to grab hold of the leaders and the visionaries. Everybody doesn't have to be a leader because it's a lot of work. If anybody is wondering, it's a lot of work. So it's like we need to check our egos, right? And grab hold of the visionaries that have been given a charge to increase our financial literacy, increase our net worth, and take advantage, because last year we saw how companies were trying to be on the right side of history, issuing all kinds of diversity pleas and promises. I don't know if those promises have been, kept, but I said, well, if anything, I'm going to be a part of that. I'm going to say it this way. We saw white guilt.
Absolutely.
We saw a plethora of white guilt from different companies, corporations. It's like, oh shoot.
So because you saw them writing checks. You saw them writing checks. Oh, we're going to put this money aside.
Yes.
Individuals don't really do a whole lot.
So taking that, so now it's like, oh, they got the check. It's like, put your hand out, right? Put your hand out, hold them to it, and I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but it's all related, even from the Goldman Sachs, putting $10 billion into black women-owned businesses. So it's like, pay attention, but you cannot see the opportunity if you don't feel worthy of the opportunity.
You cannot see it if you don't feel worthy. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we got to do our homework.
Yeah.
Like we have to have our ducks in, because it's great if they're giving the money, but if your ducks aren't in a row so that you can receive the money, then now the money is just sitting there, right? Or
which is where a lot of people are now, right? With PPP.
Right.
It's like the money, it's like it's forgivable. But if you have not, as you said, put your ducks in a row,
right,
and you've been in business,
right,
before 2020, See, I know I'm pulling, I'm tugging at you. It's like, wait a minute, go off, girl. Go off. Go off. So yeah. And I know we gotta have you back because it's so we touched a little bit about 50-50 accord. Yes. I don't want to hold you too long because I started a little later than we planned. Yes. And I want to be cognizant of your time. Yes. But give us a couple of more points before we close, because so my question was, what do you need to forward this vision that you were given? And you can't, it is you, and you are the vision, and the vision is you. The vision is a part of you. It's a charge, right? Yeah. It's a charge. And when it's a charge, it's like, goes full speed ahead. I have my girl on here. She says, I've heard Miss Gunn speak. I'm gonna give you your flowers at events in the past. And she said, Jamie Gabriel is one of your. Yep. It's just, she says she's amazing. So that speaks to the caliber of women in your network. And it's like, I know, well, what about the men? Listen, when women are, first of all, good Black women.
Come on, say it.
Good Black women are not here to exploit Black men.
No, we're here to elevate and lift them up too.
Because it has to be balanced. I mean, I'm looking like, well, it's got to be balanced. Because like, well, who is my niece gonna marry? It's like, if totally off topic, but it's like it has to be balanced in the universe.
Right. So
so go ahead.
So my first ask for Black women is join the network, right? Because there's so much. So there is a monthly membership fee. It's so crazy affordable. And I made it affordable because I remember there were times when there were organizations that I needed to belong to that I could not pay the membership due. My own sorority at some point, I couldn't even pay my annual, you know what I mean? So I wanted it to be affordable for everybody who needed to do it. And then remembering what those pillars are. You're not going to need necessarily every one of the programs or the initiatives that we have, but you get in and you fit in and you get what you need. We have something called AWN 800. It doesn't make sense for anybody in the Amazing Woman Network to have great credit when I'm the founder. It doesn't make sense, right? So we meet, and they're actually meeting right now, and in order to make sure that not only do credit scores increase, but we understand that we weren't taught how to bank and how to use credit, right? And so it's also changing that mindset so that we also can teach our children and our Black men how to do these things differently. If it's the 50-50 Accord, they can go to the Facebook page. I'm sorry, the Facebook group on the 50-50 Accord, and they will get so much more financial. I literally am doing a call tonight with some real estate agents in the 50-50 Accord talking about this crazy real estate market. So people have to get involved, but it all starts with the individual, and we have to stop thinking, right, that all of these handouts, we'll take them, right? But those same individuals that are writing those checks, right? As you said, those guilt checks, they really don't want to see us unite, right? They don't want to see that happen. They don't want to see us rise out of their own fear, because that's not we're not that type of people, but they don't want to see that happen. So it starts in your own household, and it's not a quick fix. You got to do the work. We don't want to do the work. It starts with you. You have to do the work. And so that's always my ask. And anytime you hear me speak, I talk about the individual and the collective, because it's important. You got to do the work yourself. So, amazingwomannetwork.com. Come on, women, get in and get the support and the collective we, and then men and women go to the 50-50 Accord group and register and get some of the knowledge that we're putting out, and then do the work.
Crystal, you are, no pun intended, truly amazing. I'm excited to become a part, because my God, my own personal story, just having I inherited my mom's home, and along with my sister, and for 8 years, I never said I was a homeowner.
Really?
I never thought of myself as a homeowner. I just thought, I have my mom's home. It's been the house has to be 40 years. It was 40 years ago she bought the home. It's you know what I mean? And it's paid for, whatever. And it's like, I'm not, and it's not to say, it's like, I'm a homeowner, I want more property, but it took me, since she passed away in 2012, rest her soul. And it's like, here we are. And it's like, I'm a homeowner. My girlfriend had to let me know that. It's like, girl, why are you saying, and it's paid for?
Do you know how much security that gives you? Right?
I did not.
Right. And that's the thing. We're not taught that sort of thing, right? But bravo to your mom who left the house to you and your sister, and bravo to you all for keeping it and not selling it because you wanted some cash. Do you get what I'm saying?
I told my sister, I said, this house is never being sold. She's like,
thank you.
I said, it's never. Now that I said, if it gets left to my niece and my son, but it's never. I mean, I might even have to draw up a clause. It's never. It's never been sold.
Yeah. And yeah, you get to be, you can put it in a trust, and you can designate in that trust what needs to happen. But it's also, it's how you then start to transfer wealth throughout generations. I had someone who was renting their parents' home, right? Their parents lived in another home. They were renting the first home that they had because they never sold it, right? So she was renting. She actually was paying rent to her parents. She wound up buying the house, right, for the full appraised value, right? But now her parents also got extra money that they could live out the rest of their lives. And now she had this home, and she would wind up doing the same thing to her children. We do not do that enough in our community. We do not keep things that appreciate.
So in my transparency, sharing that for anybody that is watching, it's like we can be very savvy in one area and not in another area. And so, in closing, there I go, sounding like a preacher again.
Right.
Private joke, y'all. We had this conversation. But in closing and being cognizant of your time, because I want to do that and have you back. And also promoting, you're also doing your show, correct? Are you now doing
Crystal Clear Conversations? Hey. Something I also said no to, right?
Yeah. we gotta promote that. So
and if I want people to hear these things, I needed a platform in order to be able to get it to them.
And congratulations, because it's room for all of us to tell our stories, share our platforms, because you just enlightened me, as well as someone who is watching currently, will watch the replay, because y'all better watch the replay on YouTube, Facebook. You know what I mean? Watch that 218 subscribers going to
exactly.
10. But it's like, I sharing in my transparency, somebody else, because look, I didn't know. It's like, wait a minute. But it's like, we're not selling this house. We're not ever selling this house. You know what I mean?
That though, right?
I knew that.
You knew that.
But the pillars where it's like savvy here, not savvy there. It's like, oh, put this together, put these 1, 2, 3, put an outfit together, or, write a book or write this, or, but it's the pillars you were talking about, where it's like, it's sometimes holes that need to be that need to be filled.
Absolutely.
To make you a pillar. Mm-hmm. So, thank you so much. I mean, I feel very enlightened and empowered just from having this conversation with you. And it's like, oh yeah, finding a safe space, because when it comes to talking about finances and personal things going on, people are somewhat kind of reclusive, embarrassed, ashamed to
and you don't always have to say it. You don't always, but you need to be in the space to get the information in order to be able to heal and grow. You don't necessarily have to spill your guts, what's going on with you.
That's a safe space.
Though. Yeah.
That's a safe space.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Please have a wonderful night. I look forward to becoming a part of the network, and anyone else that is interested. Producer, oh, that's me. Here's the information. Here's the information for more information about what we've talked about, as far as, and we're holding her to the workbook that'll be available in the next 2 to 3 months, 90 days at least. But at least there's information, a plethora of information that we have access to right now
for free.
For free.
For free. Yes.
For free. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that you do, and there is a membership or a monthly fee that you charge. But guess what? If you don't invest something monetarily into your future, into yourself, whatever it is, you're just not going to follow through. So it has to be some kind of monetary, I believe, and it's been proven.
Yes.
Studies have shown when you invest in yourself, with some amount, whatever that amount is.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's information you can find. We're not going to discuss that.
Right.
But you are more apt to stick to something. You're more apt to be committed when you are invested and you got some skin in the game.
Yes.
So there are some free resources available, correct, on the Amazing Woman Network, and you can join for a fee monthly, which,
yes.
I mean, you're doing the work. You are doing the work, and guess what? You still, even as you are doing this, and this is your purpose, you should still secure the bag as you're doing that. Because
Correct.
God doesn't give us a provision or a vision without the provision. So
True.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've had a ball.
I know. I'm so glad. I know. Sometimes it's like people see me on Facebook. Well, you can kind of get a little bit, but it's like, oh, that's not even three-dimensional. That's just that's flat. Meet me in person. But thank you so much. And that's why I asked. We're going to we gotta get this money, and we gotta keep this money and pass this money through to our next generation. So I'm glad to, do what I can and allow you here on this network, this platform.
Thank you.
So good luck. Have a great call tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome, darling. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.